Good morning. I found a poem that I feel it resonated deeply with me, and I hope that happens for you too. It's by Denise Larkin, and it's called I See a Future. In a world where dreams ignite the sky, where hope takes root and hearts can fly, I see a future bright and clear, where love and peace conquer fear. I see oceans sparkle blue and clean. I see forests whisper evergreen. I see cities hum with gentle grace. I see harmony in every place. I see children laugh with pure delight, dancing in the golden light. I see elders share their ancient tales. Wisdom rides on the sails. I see technology, a tool of good, bridging gaps as it once should. Hand in hand, we forge ahead, every tear and wound now shed. I see borders fade. I see walls dissolve. In unity, I see our problems solved. I hear every voice, a note in a song. Together, we are strong. I see nature's bounty freely shares by every creature who deeply cares. I see earth reborn in vibrant hues, healing in the morning dews. I see kindness bloom in every heart, a global canvas of art. I see darkest night to brightest dawn, a future so bright, a world is reborn. I see everyone dream to make it so. In every heart, let courage grow. With love and light, we pave the way for a brighter world and a better day. We'll do our affirmation. I will say it once, and this is the last time for this month, the vision, and then I'll ask you to repeat it twice with me. My vision of the world reflects my inner beliefs. And together, my vision of the world reflects my inner beliefs.
I want to start with the very first lyric of the song, because it ties into this month's theme of vision. And in the song, he wrote this. He said, "There's too many visionaries, too many blind illuminaries." And I think about this idea that, could there be too many visionaries? Could there be too many illuminaries? Well, yes, I think if they're blind. I think that's the key. I think that we are allowing ourselves to be led by too many blind illuminaries, too many blind visionaries. People who, they're doing the best they can. I want to acknowledge that everyone's doing the best they can. Even if we perceive them doing destructive things, they are doing the best they can. This is the challenge that a lot of people have, and I'm going to say it out loud, but I don't know if you know this. I come from a background of theater. It was my career before this. Woohoo! I know, I say it all the time. When you stop laughing, I'll stop saying the joke. But one of the great lessons that I learned in theater is when I was invited to play the antagonist in a production, the villain, so to speak. The villain thinks they're the hero of the story. And so all of their actions are motivated by them thinking they are doing right, thinking they are doing good. And that's a challenge, because we can look around, all around us, and see people who are behaving in ways that are destructive. and it's guided and led by people who think that they are the hero of the story. And how do we address that? How do we work with that in our lives? I'm not telling you I have an answer today. Well, I sort of have an answer. I mean, do we live in a world, here's the thing, do we live in a world that is so deeply full of information and opinion and distraction that we are immobilized by all of that stuff and forgetting the truth of our being, forgetting to remember who we are, that we are the creators of our lives, that from the point of view of spirit, we are a majority. My favorite quote of Dr. Ernest Holmes, one of the great thinkers in the New Thought movement, is, "One alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority." And that is a call to us, each and every one of us, to say, how is it that we are motivating and creating our lives? What is the vision that we are bringing to the expression and experience of our lives? I like social media too. I like to look at posts. I mean, you know, it's kind of part of our society now, and I look at posts and things, and I try not to be too distracted by all the garbage. But what happens in social media is it becomes kind of a first line of information. You know, it becomes a first line of opinion that is being shared widely. It becomes really a distraction in a lot of ways. What has been unfolding on social media recently, I had a revelation about it for myself. And if you are engaged in any kind of social media, maybe this will resonate with you. But I realized that continuing to expose myself to that garbage in, garbage out. I keep telling myself that having an awareness is key to allowing myself to step into doing something about it. But the key is you have to step in and do something about it. Because if I'm not doing something about it in my life, then all of that exposure is just creating a continued trauma response within me. Inaction becomes the result of that trauma response because I become frozen, thinking, well, what could I possibly do? I keep seeing this stuff, but what can I possibly do about it in my life? Do something. Do something. You know, because I come from an artistic and creative background, I think personally that the way to really step into action in my life is through expression artistically. And that what I can do in my life is really engage the arts to become transformative in my world, in my experience. And as I do that, that exponentially grows throughout all humanity. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. So we can be immersed in vision. We can have a vision, a world that works for everyone, a world awakened to its magnificence. We can be engaged in that vision and not truly see what's happening all around us that is out of alignment with that vision. And then it becomes ours to do to engage ourselves in the expression of that vision. Living the vision means choosing clarity over clutter. And so, stop for a minute. Wipe the progress from your eyes and stare at the setting sun that holds us here alive. One of my great joys living in Tucson, Arizona is the sunsets that we experience here. To remember to go out and observe the beauty of the world. It's not necessarily being found on your computer screen or on your phone. Go out, experience it. One of the ways that we can engage this as well, because, part of my question is, spiritual philosophy is great. If we can't put it into practice, then what's the point? What is the point of a spiritual philosophy unless we can actually utilize it to enhance the quality of our lives? And so these several weeks, I've been talking about the principles that we teach in unity and the 5 basic principles of unity. And this week is one that is all around action in our lives. And that action is rooted in this way. Principle 4, this is the 4th week of the year. Principle 4 says this: affirmative prayer and meditation are the primary practical tools we teach and use to design the events and experiences of our lives. Affirmative prayer and meditation are the primary practical spiritual tools we teach and use to design the events and experiences of our lives. Today, I really want to talk primarily about prayer. Meditation, I love meditation. We're bringing back meditation, don't forget, 2 weeks from today. We are bringing back the pre-service meditation. But prayer for me has become an invaluable tool to transforming my experience. And a lot of what I seek to engage in prayer is really inviting this idea that prayer is how I can simplify my seeing. I can simplify and deeply understand what it is I am seeing and experiencing through the practice of prayer. Because prayer is not for the purpose of changing things. I know people are always like, what? We do not teach that you can get what you want through prayer. That is not the philosophy. A lot of people come to this philosophy because they're like, oh, they teach I can pray and I can have the car that I want and I can have all the money in the world and I can consume, right? Prayer is not about changing things out there or being a consumer. It is about changing something within ourselves. Prayer is a method to reconnect and change our inner relationship to the outer circumstances of our lives. That's what prayer is about. If you want to learn more about that, here's my next plug. I'm teaching prayer fundamentals starting February 3rd on Tuesday nights for 6 weeks. But if you have come to the New Thought tradition because you believe that New Thought promised something that you could gain through prayer, you can gain something through prayer. You can gain a shift in your experience consciously. And here's what happens. We teach a formulaic method for prayer, but prayer, the technique of prayer is anything that works. It's another thing I always say, the technique of prayer is anything that works. And so what works for you to fundamentally shift your mind, to change your beliefs, to do the inner work, to change something within the self, and allowing that inner change to impel us into action. Because I think sometimes we think, I'm going to pray and everything around me is going to change. It will not change without your participation. It will not change without your participation. And so prayer is for allowing us to, clarify the path, to clarify what it is we seek to express and experience. And now I'm going to ask this question. When is it that we are using prayer? This is a rhetorical question. I want you to consider for yourself, when is it that you are utilizing prayer in your life? Because I think a lot of us have an established prayer practice, right? We take the time, perhaps in the morning or in the evening, midday, perhaps at all those times. We have a specific prayer practice like, okay, now is the time I'm going to engage in the practice of prayer. We have it here in the celebration in our service. We have a time where a prayer chaplain joins us, and it is a form of formal prayer. But here's the thing. We use prayer every single moment of every single day. Because whatever we are thinking and believing is what is coming to pass in our experience. And so the job for us perhaps then becomes allowing ourselves to guide our thoughts and our beliefs consistently. Here's the thing, you don't have to adopt a formal prayer practice if you approach life from the point of view that it's all prayer, because your whole life then becomes formalized in prayer. I mean, isn't the goal really that we have a we have allowed ourselves to come into an expression and experience of life where we don't have to worry about it anymore. That kind of is what I would like. You know, I sometimes joke and I say, the best work that I could do is put myself out of business because y'all get it to such a degree that you don't have to keep showing up here for classes. You don't have to keep showing up here for Sunday service. You're just out there living your most magnificent life. I would miss you too. Thank you, Sherry. Live life. This is my call. Live life as though it is prayer. Begin to understand your life is prayer. Live life as though it is prayer. One of my ministerial colleagues, Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis, had this to offer. I love this. She said this: prayer is not a spare wheel that you pull out when you're in trouble. Use it as a steering wheel that keeps you on the right path throughout your life. Isn't that a good one? Yeah. I think far too frequently we forget. We are going about our lives and we forget and we forget and we forget, and we're like, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart. Time to pray. No, the time to pray was before. The time to pray was remembering that you are creating your life in every single moment. That's the time. You don't have to call it prayer. You can call it affirmative thinking. You can call it whatever you want. But let us let go of the notion that we're always having to turn to prayer only to fix things. Prayer is here to be that steering wheel. I can certainly use that steering wheel. Part of what came up for me in preparing for today's message is to ask this question. With respect to vision and aligned with this notion of prayer that I am creating every single experience, what is it, this is the question, what is it that I am not seeing because my life is comfortable? I live in a considerable amount of comfort in my life. And I think sometimes that blinds me to what's happening beyond my experience of comfort. What is it that I am not seeing because my life is comfortable? It's a question about privilege. Am I living and practicing privilege blindly? The spiritual practice of prayer is a way that we can expand compassion beyond our personal comfort. And we are called more so now than ever, I believe, to do just that, to step beyond our comfort zone and to vision that world, to concretize that vision through the practice, the spiritual practice of prayer that we teach, and allow ourselves to be impelled into action rooted in that vision. Are you with me on that? Because that, for me, is how we are going to fundamentally change all the devastating things we're seeing around us. But I have to get past my own level of comfort in order to do this. Mastering the practice, it takes discipline. It takes discipline, right? To live a life from an affirmative point of view takes discipline. It's very easy to get pulled off of the path, right? Reverend Hypatia Hasbrook had this to say. She said, to master positive prayer, we need to be as regular and disciplined as musicians are in music. If you do not know how much work these magnificent beings over here have put into their lives to create what is created in this celebration every single week, you are grossly underestimating all the work. It's a lot of work, isn't it? It has been a lot of work, but it's work that you love too. Yeah, so, what if we approach the notion of putting that much work, loving work, into the practice of prayer and master it, absolutely master it, to such a degree that nothing else will ever go awry. Now, I said last week that we can never eliminate conflict. How are we going to then address conflict in our lives from a spiritual, positive, affirmative point of view? What's that, Wendy? Of love, yes. Yes, yes. Live from the point of view of love. There is nothing, here's the thing, there's nothing special about prayer. Aha, what? There is nothing special about prayer that cannot be practically used by every single person on this planet. Prayer is not reserved for spiritual masters. Prayer is the purview of every single one of us. And so how are you embracing that and putting it to use in your life? I really want us to leave today with this. Utilize the practice. Utilize the practice that we offer here. See how your life transforms because of it. You know, many people discount their own voice because that's what we're taught to do culturally. We're taught to diminish ourselves. We call it humility, but we diminish ourselves. We discount our own voice. We discount our own worth, and I'm here to say no more. No more. We are taught as a culture to believe the worst stories about ourselves. And trust me, I have a lot of history with this. Remember I said I come from the background of theater? Have you ever read a review of yourself? I've had glowing reviews. I've had less than glowing reviews. What reviews are you paying attention to in your life? Because everyone around you is probably offering some kind of review. What are you paying attention to? What are you choosing to believe in that feedback? I would like to believe that when we come together as a spiritual community every single week here in this facility and online, however we're connecting as a community, that the reviews are glowing. That's what I choose to believe. I choose to look upon the faces of every single individual here and understand that what I am seeing is the face of love, the face of divinity itself. What reviews are you paying attention to? I get a lot of reviews as a minister. Some glowing, some not glowing. What am I choosing to listen to? Prayer is a method that we can apply to retrain our sense of identity. And that's really what the most important aspect of prayer is for me. Prayer is the method that we can apply to retrain our identity. In the 5-step prayer process that we teach, the initial steps are grounded in this. And they're grounded really in those first 2 principles. God is all there is, and that is our identity. The wholeness of our being is divine. God is all there is, and that is our identity. And if we are living from that point of view, here's what happens. The rest of the prayer doesn't matter. Because if you live from the point of view of God is all there is, and that is who and what I am. In fact, if you even got rid of that's who and what I am, because if God is all there is, you cannot be separate from it. So just say, God is all there is. I wasn't expecting that, but I love it. Let's say it again. God is all there is. There's nothing else that exists. Nothing. And you are the power. You are the presence. You are the light. You are the life. You are the intelligence, the wisdom, the imagination of this magnificent divinity that is flowing forth as creation. What will you do with it today? Create. That's our only job, is to create the lives we seek to experience. That's our only job. Whoa, here I go. I'm about to levitate. We are not imposters. We are the expression of the vision it is that we purport to offer every single week. We are humanity awakened to its spiritual magnificence. We are that. So let us consider doing what that song invites us to do, to dream like we've never dreamed, for less, not more this time, because my call is to simplify my life, to simplify through the practice of prayer, Let it become a simple daily practice. Yes, if that's where you are. I choose to believe that every single moment is a prayer. And so I am living, I choose to express and exhibit myself as a living embodiment of prayer. And it takes determination, it takes dedication to live from that point of view, to simplify, to stop, breathe, and recenter. By the way, if you just did that with me, you just expressed and experienced an entire prayer. That's how simple this can be, to stop, to breathe, and just recenter. The other part of this call is to simplify with awareness. The key to true change for anything in our lives is awareness. An awareness of who I am. An awareness of how am I in relation to everything around me. What is that relationship to everything that I perceive to be happening in this world? Who will you choose to be? How will you choose to act from the point of view of awareness? Simplify. Notice the blind spots in your life. I'm endeavoring to do that more and more, to notice the blind spots in my own life. And in every single instance, to choose compassion over convenience. Simplify the vision, and your life will clarify. You are my ally. If you can, so can I. If I can, so can you. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. Oh, each week, as you know, most of you know, I offer a practice that we can apply in our lives practically. Call it the life practice, and this is the encouragement this week, to practice prayer every day this week. Notice at least one place, and this is kind of in three parts. So practice prayer every day this week. That's part one. Number two, notice at least one place where you can expand compassion beyond convenience. I want you to really think about that. What does that mean? Compassion beyond convenience. It means breaking through what might be a comfort zone to step into the practice of compassion for others. Notice at least one place where you can expand compassion beyond convenience and take one concrete step moving from receiving to serving. Now, we want to keep everything in balance. We want to live in that infinite balance of circulation. Receiving and giving are two sides of the same coin. But I really want us to step into a consciousness of serving. And as someone is engaged in serving, trusting and knowing that those whom we serve are also open to receive, and we keep the infinite flow going. That's the practice this week.